Hey everybody, it's Monica with Fit Eats Coach, and today I'm back with over a dozen cool down stretches that you can do. We're going to go through quite a few options. You can leave out some, add in others. So let's get started with our deep lunge. Notice how my knee is aligned over my front heel and my back leg is bent, but I'm about to come up into a little bit of a higher lunge, and I'm using a block to help me. I don't actually need them, but it's nice sometimes to have that little bit of elevation. And then I'm going into a twist. So this part of the stretch is completely optional, but it is really nice if you need extra release through that hip flexor, through those glutes and inner thighs. Now once I hold that for about 30 seconds, I'm gonna switch to the other side. And notice how I'm taking my time. I'm not rushing through this. I'm just, going nice and easy, getting some really good alignment. It helps to take about 2 to 3 deep breaths in each stretch. And that way you don't have to be paying attention to your timer constantly. I find that about 2 to 3 deep breaths is about the equivalent of 30 seconds. Alright, next up, I'm transitioning through Playful Puppy, which is totally optional. If you do decide to do this stretch, make sure that you're squeezing your shoulder blades gently so that your chest can really expand and you don't have any strain through the shoulders. This is a really nice one for opening up that whole thoracic area. But if you decide to skip it, that's totally fine. We're going right into thread the needle. And notice how I'm dropping my head and shoulder all the way to the floor, and I'm pushing through my hand to get a bit of an extra twist through the torso. This stretch is really great for releasing your lats, obliques, low back, but for some people this can be really difficult if they have issues with their neck, so it's helpful if you place a block underneath your head, and you can position your block in any direction that is helpful, that allows you to do the stretch without placing any strain on your neck or shoulder. Again, notice how I'm kind of pushing myself away with that supporting hand to get a bit of an extra stretch through that whole side of the body down into the back and hip. After this, I'm again going to transition through Playful Puppy, but like I said, you are free to skip that if that's not your thing. Alright, next up we're going into a reclined figure 4 stretch followed by reclined pigeon. So these two stretches work really well together. Notice how I'm threading my hands through that opening to hang on to the back of my leg, but if that doesn't work, you can always grab the top of your knee, and you can also hold on to your foot and your other knee if that works better. So there's a few options for doing this stretch if you have limitations with your hip and low back mobility. Now once you're ready, you're going to straighten that bottom leg, and you're just going to rock that top leg side to side and really take your time feeling that lengthening that's happening through the hip, maybe the IT band, the low back, and also the hip flexor of the leg that's on the floor is getting a little bit of release. Take your time with this. Take 2 to 3 deep breaths, and try not to rush out of this stretch. One thing I've noticed is that over time, my clients, when they first start learning how to stretch, they want to just immediately get out of a stretch. They hold it for a few seconds, and they instantly want out of it. And the way to train flexibility is to actually spend time. Not that much time is required. So breathing will kind of slow you down, and it will help you to focus on the movements of your body, areas of tension that need a little bit more time spent on them. It's okay to spend more time on one side than it is on the other. And again, like I said, if you don't have really great mobility or flexibility, don't worry, that will come if you just spend the time. So don't feel like you have to get into these super deep stretches. Just do what is possible for you right now, and you will see improvements eventually. Alright, now from here we're going into a lower body twist. Notice how I have my hand right on the outside of the knee, and I'm using that as resistance. I have my other arm open out to the side, palm facing the sky, and if I want to, I can look over at that hand and get more release through the chest, through the neck, And you want to, again, if you're going to use resistance, maybe do 3 seconds of resistance and then release and try and push that leg down further. So that's how you do contract release on yourself. You're going to do that anywhere between 3 to 5 times during a stretch. So if you're trying to improve your flexibility while you're doing these stretches, you can actually do a whole lot of different methods for that. Breathing is one of them. Contract release is another one. There's a few others that I will mention in some of the upcoming stretches. This next part, which is just hugging the knees and rocking from side to side, maybe even in a circular motion, it's really nice on the low back and hips, but you can totally skip that and just come over onto the hands and knees and get ready to press up into down dog. If you do decide to do this, you can just roll up to sitting and then kind of turn yourself around into a down dog. And down dog is a really great stretch for lengthening the entire backside of the body, but it can be a little bit tough for people that have really tight hamstrings. So feel free to bend your knees a little bit and not have your heels on the floor. You can also elevate your hands a little bit on blocks if that is helpful. And you can also walk the heels so you can alternate back and forth. Now from there, you're going into a baby cobra with a little bit of neck rotation. So you're just in that cobra and you're looking from side to side, trying your best not to lock out your arms, and then adding a little bit of playfulness with the legs. So you're bending at the knees when you come down and kind of bringing your heels in towards your backside. It feels really great for lengthening the quads. It just makes the stretch a little bit more fun and also frees up a lot of that rigidness that you have in an up dog cobra type stretch. We only have about 2 minutes to go, so this has gone by pretty quickly. You're going to step right through into an intense hamstring stretch, and you can use a block or various other ways to be in this stretch. If you don't have really great hamstring flexibility, you can place your hands on a much higher surface like I'm doing here. And you can also raise the ball of your foot off of the ground if you want to feel a little bit more intensity. You can bend the knees, bend and lengthen. That's another trick that you can use to start getting better flexibility from your stretching sessions. So bend and straighten is another way of contracting and releasing opposing muscles so that you can get deeper into your stretches. All right, next up we have a calf stretch with a bit of a crescent pose. So I'm grabbing my wrist and I'm kind of coming into a crescent pose as I have my heel on the ground and the ball of my foot on a block. If you have the really thick blocks, they might actually kind of want to pop up, and that's totally fine. You just kind of have to find the right foot placement. And if this doesn't work for you, then you can always just do one part of this stretch, like maybe just work on the calf stretch, or work on the crescent pose part of the stretch and get your calf stretch done by hanging your heels off of a box or a step somewhere in your house. There are all kinds of ways that you can modify these stretches to work for your body. All right, finally, we are finishing up with some neck stretches. You can add some resistance on the side of the head, or you can just tilt your head and do various arm positions behind your back or behind the body. Do what works for you. And again, if you can't do a neck stretch because you have issues and it is really painful, then just finish up with this nice wall stretch that I'm doing here, which is just one final chest and shoulder opener, and also opens up some of the lower body and the core. And that's it, you're done. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back with workout B soon.